Hello and welcome everybody to this new webinar of HelloID. This is the release webinar. So in this webinar we're going to talk about the new features of the September release that is deployed last Monday. So they're already available in production, of course, but we're going to do a quick tour of the new features. And of course you can always ask me questions in the chat if you have any questions about these new features. Normally we are doing a little bit of a voting system where you can vote on a certain feature, and then we discuss that more. I'm not doing that this time because we have a lot of new smaller features for service automation, and we have a big one for provisioning, so I want to take a little bit more time for provisioning. But I want to start with service automation. Before I start, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon down below. So it's easier to keep updated with the new stuff we have because we're making documentation videos, but also before the release, a release video so you know what's upcoming. And of course, this webinar that we're doing live with hopefully some interaction. So let's start. So as you can see here, I'm in the admin portal, and for the first new smaller feature, we go to delegation and we go to the delegated forms, and I already prepared a reset password form, in this case a password reset and unlock form. And in the task, we previously, I think 2 releases ago, we added audit logging for the delegated forms. So you do this like create an object in PowerShell and just write information with the text audit. So you will receive an audit log message, which also goes into the report engine, and you can do analyzing on that and things like that. But we have a new type of action, and that's the set password action. And that's of course greatly if you have a set password form, or if you create an AD account and just do a set password action or something like that. So you can use that besides the ED already available create account and enable account and stuff like that. You can also see this in the documentation we have on docs.helloid.com. But this is a new option we currently have. The other new feature that we have in service automation, if we go to delegated forms and we create a new delegated form, of course this feature is also available in old ones, but let me create a select HelloID user form. Let's create one. And let's go to the form and let me add a grid as data. And if I'm going to change the grid and I'm going to use a data source, you have the type native that we already supported. But now we, besides the HelloID groups, we have HelloID users. So that's a new one. So that means that you can get all the HelloID users inside a grid. But this one is a little bit different because we can change the scope here, just like the user selector as a form element. But this uses the default data source, so you can use this with a range of fields. And what I can do here with the scope is I can search on certain groups, but I can also say, okay, I want to have only my managed users. So that means if I'm the manager of the of certain group of users, I'm only allowed to select those users in here. Or I can say I can create a custom filter, and I can say something only the users where the department is of value, let's say sales. Something like that. And I can make more filters, of course, because I can say, okay, add filter. So I say my next one is department or sorry, language. I don't know if it's a value. Yes, Dutch. Or I can just ignore this and I can switch to match the requester value. So this means if I open the form, I'm a certain user, of course. I'm also working in a certain department. So maybe it's development. And then it matches the value of the other users. So in case I'm logged in, it could be consultant or development. And all the users that have the same value you will see. So it works really easy. Let's do for this case. I don't think I have a department set on my user, so I'm going to say everybody from sales. And you can also see a preview from here. So it should be able to see a maximum of, or more than 6, but this preview shows a maximum of 6 users. So if I click on here and I just get columns from data source, update field, and I'm going to switch to the editor, you will see loading and I can see all the HelloID users that are currently in the department sales. And of course, now I selected all the fields, but you can select what fields you want to see. The big advantage is this is pretty quick. So it's a lot quicker than getting all the users from Active Directory as an example. So in some cases, if your HelloID directory and your Active Directory are in sync, you can maybe just use the HelloID users and use a unique field in the HelloID user to get the identity for an Active Directory user if you want to do a action on that. But that's a case where you could use it. Also, of course, if you want to do something with the HelloID users, just assign a group or things like that, you can do this all with this this native data source, which is really easy. Let me check if there are any questions. No, I don't see any questions, so let's continue. Okay, for another feature in service automation, I have to log off because I'm currently logged in as an admin user, but now I'm going to log in as Amir A, which is a manager. And a manager in this case has some products. And what we changed is now if you have a action return, you will see a dialog pop up. So currently, if you press it, it will automatically return directly, and now you will have a pop-up which is a little bit more secure. So if you accidentally press the button, you will not return the product. Only disadvantage, of course, is returning multiple products takes a little bit longer, but I think this is safer to use. And of course, I can click it away if I don't want to click on the X or the cancel to cancel the return, and it will not be returned. So that's are the new features for service automation. And the native HelloID user data source is a big one. I got a lot of different filter options where you can use different filtering and stuff. But it's the same as the user selector, so I don't want to show all the options because we already had them in the user selector, but with this way you can use them, use the HelloID users with other form elements. So let's go to provisioning. So let's go, oh sorry, I have to log in of course to my administrator account, as I don't have the permissions. So in provisioning, there are a couple new things. The first one is that we set some limits on the resources creation scripts, but we're now allowing you guys to use combinations. So if you want to do this in practice, what you can do is just go to source, and create a custom field. Like, I don't know, let's say that this, or let's say custom field on a contract, and this department title. So it's a combination field of both the department value and the title value. And then you can just go to your mapping of your system. So let's go to Flex. And if I go to contract, I can use department. Why is it not showing? Oh, damn it, I forgot to press save, I think. Sorry, I forgot to type in this name. Shouldn't have special characters. And if I go back to system and to my mapping, it should be there. Custom department title. I can add that, and I can just use a complex field where I will map the title and department as one field, and I can use that as a unique field in my resources. So that's how you can use this. I'm not going to fully demonstrate it because I think it's a small change. But now we're great with it. In the previous post, if you had too many unique values of the resource, the enforcement will stop. So now if you hit the resource creation limit, it will just continue the enforcement. Of course, the resource will not be created, but all other things like permission and accounts are created. So I think that's a good option. The other thing is a limitation in HelloID where you cannot assign all the different group types, but I'm not going to show you that in this demo. It's too late of a change. You can just read it. If you go to the roadmap.helloid.com, you can see the text in there, and you can just see what we did to improve that. But another big feature is that we currently have person aggregation, and with this automatic merging with this release. So I think this is a big change. What I already did is I created a system with the name person aggregation, just to make it easier to show, because it's a little bit of a complex thing. And I just added one person, and the person is Evan Chip. So this is the person, and you can see here the source system is person aggregation. It's Evan C0. Remember that, because that's important to know. And if you look at his contracts, it just got one contract, but he already got some entitlements. So he already has some accounts in different systems, like Active Directory, Azure AD, Topdesk, and things like that. It also already has some audit logging, so you can see here it has some failed actions and some finished actions, some permissions that were assigned, and also, of course, a history that it was created on this time, so the person was added. Now, what's new is if I go to aggregation, and I'm going to configuration, you have two new options here. You can enable automatic aggregation, and you can enable automatic transfer. I will enable both for now, but I will show the difference a little bit later. The enable automatic aggregation options gives us a new field, or a new, you can say, matching score, threshold, or somewhere there, which determines what are the conditions when we do an automatic match. So when do we do an automatic merging of two persons? At what value? And of course, that value is still the aggregation field we already shown in previous releases, and it's already used for suggestions. And how this works is, if your matching score is this value for the automatic matching score or higher, in this case you cannot get any higher than 100%, but If I press here something like 90, it could be 95 or 97 or something like that. But I changed it back to 100. Then we are going to automatically merge the person. If it's below that number, but it's higher than the suggestion matching score, we will give you a suggestion which you can manually approve yes or no. If it's below that, we do nothing. So then, of course, you can still do it manually, merge persons. But this is a really nice setup. So you can have some thresholds where you say, okay, this is my percentage where I want to do it automatically. And this is my percentage where I want to have a suggestion, because it's in that area, it's not always sure that we have to do a merge. But I want to check it. So we can always do a preview, of course. This functionality we already had. So if I do an Evan chip currently, you see it matches on some people, but it's really low. So it's never around the 70% for a suggestion just yet. And of course, if I lower this, you can, I have to do 40. You will see, okay, then it applies to these people. That was already there in the software. Also, there's still a limitation where we say, okay, never do an automatic merge or suggestion when more than 10 persons are merging, because that's too large of a set. You can change that, of course, but I think in most situations that's too large of a set of persons that are merged in a single time. Let me put it back on 70. And I will keep on the enable automatic aggregation, and I will apply this. And if I go to a manual, just to check for you guys, if I go to Evan chip, you will see it's just a single person currently. And if I go to his contract, you will see it's Evan C0, and it has one contract. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to my source system, to person aggregation, and change a little bit in the code. But what I'm just doing is I'm just changing that I created a second Evan chip because it's the same person and it should be merged. That's my meaning. And it's just a simple for each loop. So it just creates two persons with the same, almost the same values, with an exception of the external ID and the sequence number. And that's also really important, sequence number in this case. So I'm applying it. And now I'm importing it. So it should show here that we have one edit and a total of 2. Yes, we have. We have no aggregation message, so we don't have to do anything, it says. But if I go to aggregation and I go to manual, and I'm searching for Evan chip, you see it's merged. So it's automatically merged with my newly created Evan chip. And of course, this means this is the main person and this is the included person. And if I go to the including person, it's Evan C chip 0. And this is 1. So that means the new one is becoming the main person. That could be the other way around if you want to. But this is determined by the primary contract over all the contracts of the persons that are merging. So in this case, if I look to Evan chip now and I see the contracts, you will see that it has 2 contracts. And in this case, the contract of a person of Evan chip 1 is the primary. And that's because the sequence is 1. And I can determine that by using the source and using the primary contract. So you see here, I've changed it a little bit and I said, okay, the sequence of my contract should be descending. So if the number is higher, it's a more likely chance that it will be the primary contract. And if it's the sequence, if it's the same, it will be the same thing. So that means is we have a person, we already had entitlements with it, and now a new person has come and it became the main person. But what happened with the entitlements? If we go back and we're searching on Evanchip, we still see the entitlements. And if I go to the information, you see it's Evanchip 1. So this means is that the entitlements, and I can also say the audit logging and also the history here is merged or transferred to Evanchip 1 instead of Evanchip 0. And you can easily see this here because this is when the person was added again, and this is where it was transferred. You can recognize this with this blue icon. So that's really important to know. So with this, if a person has some entitlements assigned, we can transfer it with the automatic transfer option. So I would always suggest leave that option on. So that's really important to know with automatic merging, and this is how it works. And you don't have to do anything, of course. And of course, if there is a person that is automatically merged with, because it's in my case 100%, and there's another person that is 70%, it will create a suggestion for it. So it will automatically merge with the other person and creates a suggestion for the person that's matched with 70%. So it can do multiple persons at once. Also, it works the other way around. So now I have one merged person, which one is leading, and that's the Evanchip 1, and the Evanchip 0 is included. But I'm going to remove Evanchip 1 from the source system. And that's also behavior you can change a little bit what happens. And that's also the enable automatic transfer. If I enable this and I remove the main person, it will transfer all the entitlements back to the included person, so to Evanchip 0. If I don't enable this, you will get a suggestion that it wants to transfer, but you have to manually approve it. And I will show that. So I just disable the enable automatic transfer. Disable the automatic transfer. Let's apply it. And I'm going back to my systems, and I'm going to say, okay, in my system, I'm going to remove the last person that I created, which is the main person, because that's the one that was transferred to. So the Evanchip 1. My script is saved. Let's import it. And I should see an icon right here by aggregation. Fortunately, I see it. And if I go to aggregation, you will see, hey, there's a transfer. Because my main person is missing, I can do a transfer. And of course, if there are more persons, you can select which one should be the main in the next, or in the vault, of course. So where should we transfer the entitlements to? Or I have the option on merge, so don't do anything with the account and the permissions and things like that. Just leave it in the network, like Active Directory. I'm not going to do this, but this is one option. The other option is if I enable this, and I'm going to Systems. Now I have to add the person back again, the person that was removed, and that's also a a big change that we did. Is we keep person identification, so for 3 months. So that means if the person comes back and it has already assigned something like an entitlement, audit logging, or in this case a merging configuration, it will return everything. So in a couple releases ago, if you had a person and it was removed from your source, it started to revoke, and if you blocked it and the person came back, you had a revoke and a grant for the new person. because it created a new person. With this, it will do a revoke. You will block the actions. Person comes back, and it will not start any revoke actions because they are gone, because it sees, oh, it's the same person. It already has the entitlements, nothing to do. So that's a big change, I think, also in the behavior of HelloID. So I brought it back, and I have to check it. I have to start the import. So now there should be a total of 2, and I think the aggregation icon should be gone. So now the transfer suggestion is gone because the person was back, and so we don't have to transfer anything. But now I have enabled the automatic transfer. So now if I'm going to remove the person again, I should not see any suggestion or things, but it should automatically manage it for me and just transfer all the entitlements from Evan chip 1 that doesn't exist anymore to Evan chip 0. So now if I'm going back to aggregation and going to check on Evan chip, still it's the other person is gone, so it's just a single person anymore, it's not merged anymore. But if I go to Evan chip, Evan chip, and I look at the entitlements are still there. So this means if you can always move the entitlements throughout the whole life cycle of a person. And not only the entitlements, but also the auto logging, the history. So this looks a little bit strange because I'm switching it up again and again. Because here we have a switch from FNC chip 1 to FNC chip 0 and back again. So that means is you can see the whole personal life cycle in the history, but also in the auto logging, and you can transfer entitlements, which is really important. You don't lose the connection to that account for that person. There are some exceptions, and it's a little bit difficult to explain, and I don't think it will happen a lot in the field, but it could happen. And this is the following scenario. If you have person aggregation, and let's disable the automatic aggregation, and this one as well, just to be sure, and add a new person. So now we have 1, but I'm going to go to 3 persons. Of course, because I bring the second person back, it will be automatically merged again because we still have the merging facilities. But the third person should be, I want to be the third person to be a separate person. Just not one which is merged, but just a separate person. So I will get a suggestion, of course. Do you want to merge them? But I'm going to reject them. So now I'm going to reject. And if I look to Evan chip, I should see 2 records right now. One is merged with another one, which was previously merged configuration. And another one is a single one. And this should be Evan chip 2, but the third one. And this should be 0, and also 1 is included as merged. What I want to do now is I want to enable automatic aggregation again and apply it. And also the transfer. And you think what should happen is that we do an automatic aggregation, so the new person that's coming should be automatically merged with Evan chip 1 and 0, right? But that doesn't really happen, and I'm going to explain why. So I'm changing it up to 4 people. And now I'm going to run it. And I think I should see a suggestion right now. So instead of the automatic merge, I'm getting a suggestion. And I can't believe for you guys it's a little bit strange. And you also see a different icon. And that icon means is that we skipped automatic merging, and that's because multiple people already exist inside the vault. In this case, the single one and the merge one, that we want to automatically merge, but we cannot do it because both of them could have entitlements. So we say, okay, this is a manual intervention, because it could be that, yeah, the Evan chip 2 has an account, but also the merged Evan chip with 0 and 1 has an account. And we cannot handle this in our system because you can just have one account for a system. So that's the reason why we cannot do this and why we stop this. And of course you can still approve it, but that means is that it will be unmanaged, of course. So the entitlements will be unmanaged. So that's the difference between. It will not be unmanaged because the main person can only be the one that has the entitlements. So in this case, chip the merge of chip 1 and 0, and you can only approve it. So we will still keep the entitlements, but you cannot change the main person currently. So that's an exception, but I don't think this would happen a lot. And maybe you can show in the chat why you think this should not happen in the field, or think about it. And then I will come back to it a little bit later. So this is the main story about a person aggregation. So in the configuration, I will always suggest to leave enable automatic transfer on in my case, and I think in 99% of all cases you should leave this on because it's easier. We do things automatically for you, and of course don't forget if there happens something where you don't want to have a merge or to have a transfer, you can always change it manually, right? Because that's always an option. We do things automatically, but you can change it manually. So that's a nice thing of our system. Besides that, the automatic aggregation, it's up to you guys if you want it or if you only want suggestions. If you enable it, look at your matching score and use the preview to determine the matching score of which you want to automatically merge those persons. Because that's really important. And of course, don't forget, if you're below the value or the score of the automatic matching, you will go automatically to suggestions. And if it's lower than that, nothing will happen. It's just a single person as normally. So coming back to the question I asked earlier, let me check if there are any answers in the questions. No, we don't see any questions or answers on my question. But the answer is normally, I'll go back to the presentation 1 minute. Normally, it will not happen that a person will merge with two other persons in the vault, because if the two other persons in the vault are already suitable for a match, it should be that they're already merged, and then it's a single person, so then it's no big deal. That's no deal, because then it will not stop with the suggestion like this. Because if this was just one merged person, it was no problem. But because of there are two persons in the vault, it cannot handle that, because we don't know what to do, and you have to do things manually a little bit. But as I said, I don't think this will become very often in the field, because I think in most situations it's always a one-on-one merge. Because if you have two persons already in the vault, they should already be merged based on your automatic merging or your suggestions. So therefore, I don't think it's an issue, but I think it's good to know that you're aware of this exception. And of course, there are also other different exceptions where you could have a few people coming in which are merging automatically together with a single one in the vault. That's no issue, because then the entitlements will automatically transfer to the new made person, whoever that is, of the four new ones. But there are different scenarios where you have multiple persons available in the vault or multiple persons coming in. But I think in most of the situations that you currently have at your office is just one-on-one. And then this option works really well, I think, with the automatic merging. So let's check again if there are any questions. No, there aren't any questions. Hopefully you could follow it. Oh, I see a question. Hey Rick, when an automatically merging is disabled and automatically transfer is enabled, it looks like the entitlements are not transferred after manual approval. Yes, that's currently correct. That's something we are currently looking into. Because I thought it was the case that worked as well. So just to clarify everything, what Jerry meant is if we have a suggestion like this, and you just have a single person here, so you only have a main and an including person, and you approve it, it should transfer the entitlements, audit logging, and things like that. And also, of course, if you just do a manual, you say, okay, I want Afje Gorp with Albert Johnson, and Albert Johnson already had entitlements, then it should transfer them to Afje. That's a little bit of a different situation because Afje and Albert Johnson are already both in the vault, so that could be difficult. But with suggestions and a new person, it could be the case. But that's currently not working. We are addressing this with development and checking it out if we can add it. But I will definitely put it on the roadmap when we're adding this option. I want to add it, but it's pretty difficult because sometimes a suggestion is for persons that are already in the vault. So I have to check that because you have the option to redetermine, and that means is that the person is already in the vault, and if you want to merge them with another person that's already in the vault, they could have both have entitlements. In that case, it's not an option for us to merge those and transfer those entitlements. So that's a difficult approach. But hopefully this answers your question. But it's not yet in the product. Let me check if there are any other questions. No, there aren't. Then I would like to thank you guys for your attention. And again, if you want to see more of these videos, please subscribe and hit the bell icon so you'll get a notification when a new video is up, or of course when this webinar starts. And also, of course, if we have more subscribers, we can put more effort into making more videos and things like that, because we see, okay, it's a good platform to inform you guys. So thank you for watching, and till the next time.